October 18th, TNA Wrestling presents its biggest event ever. Bound for Glory on DirecTV pay-per-view. Before the opening bell, check out TNA Before the Glory on the 101 Network.
When I see that intensity, it's going to fuel me.
I respect Kurt Angle, but I'm also going to hand him his ass. I'm going to kill him.
TNA presents Before the Glory, premiering October 7th at 11 Eastern on the 101 Network, only on DirecTV.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Express. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius Hero.
That's me. That's me.
Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us, and it is time to answer your questions. I know it's been about a minute, but we've got your emails here in front of us, those that have been selected for read on air, and let's get right down to it. David Hero, our first email comes from Caleb, who says, I was wondering, what do you guys think would have been a bigger impact in WWE if Eddie Guerrero and, if still alive, rather, Eddie Guerrero or Chris Benoit, and what title, if any, do you guys think they would have right now if still alive? That's a pretty big question. Obviously hypothetical in nature. Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, both world champions before their untimely departures from this world. But if they were both still around, David, who do you think would be a bigger star right now?
Well, both of them were big draws at the time, but I would have to go with Eddie Guerrero. Far more charismatic, big-time fan favorite. Chris Benoit, great wrestler, but I don't think that with the new product, which is more PG-friendly, I guess, I think Eddie Guerrero is a safer bet. Don't think he'd be a world champion anymore. I don't think the Sunday brunch would let that happen. But definitely I could see him as a U.S. champion, IC champ, maybe even a tag team champion. And
the difference between the two was Eddie Guerrero was a much better talker. Thus, I think he could have gone much further in the business. Thank you very much for that email, Caleb. Let's go now to Sam Sabiri, who says, I know this sounds crazy, but in my opinion, WWE right now has a better tag team division. I mean, look at the tag teams in WWE. Legacy, DX, Jericho, MVP, and Mark Henry, Vladimir and Jackson, Hart Dynasty, and Crime Time. Also, there is not a tag team in WWE, TNA, or Ring of Honor that can beat Jericho right now. What do you think, Sam? I think that is an interesting point, especially if you look at over the course of the last few months what we've talked about right here on this very program, which is the lack of a tag team division in WWE and the focus being placed on tag teams in TNA. And WWE has certainly taken some great strides in meeting that challenge.
I think Jericho is the best tag team in wrestling today, but I don't think today's tag team division is as good as he thinks. I mean, even the late 90s, the Attitude Era, you had Edge and Christian, you had the Dudleys, you had the Hardys, you had the Outlaws, you had, even Too Cool you could put in there, the Headbangers, whatnot, a lot of good tag teams. And then even going back to the late 80s when you had Demolition, Killer Bees, British Bulldogs, Heart Foundation, the Rougeaus. I mean, so many great tag teams are
all in one brand.
All in one brand, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, right now Jericho is the cream of the crop tag team, but I don't think that that division is very strong.
Thank you very much for that email, Sam. Let's go now to Matt G, who says, hey guys, I started watching your show about 2 months ago, and I'm starting to get addicted to it. So are we. And watch almost every episode. With the recent change of some of WWE's pay-per-views and implementing gimmicks to each one, if you had creative control over one, what would you name it? What would the gimmick be? And who would be in your main event?
I think they've done every gimmick imaginable. I mean, if you go back to WCW and their Terror Dome,
that was the 12 cages with 3 rings,
right?
Like that.
Something like that. And then TNA with their King of the Mountain. I mean, every gimmick I can think of has been you know what? Maybe for a tribute to Al Snow, maybe I would do another Kennel of Hell match.
Oh, recently on the show we talked about our best and worst Hell in a Cell matches, and I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah.
I think one concept that they've walked away from that was a good concept, and I'm not sure why they continue to walk away from it, is the King of the Ring. A one-night tournament-style pay-per-view has always been intriguing to me, at least, and we haven't seen it since 2002, at least in pay-per-view fashion. And I guess it was ever since it got Billy Gunn.
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar was the last King of the Ring on the pay-per-view?
I believe he was, yeah.
That was a good format. I truly enjoyed it, and it was a night where you may have known who might win it, but getting there was still fun.
And there was just different matchups as well that you could see.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I would imagine one of the reasons that they walked away from that is I'm not sure if it affords enough of an opportunity to get enough of the right people over.
Well, plus, you have guys working 2 or 3, times in a night. Maybe the talent wasn't very pleased with that.
Or maybe the lack of interest long-term by fans has helped make that decision. What I mean by that is, will that keep your interest, keep you engaged over an evening's period of time watching the same person wrestle several times?
Well,
Jake the Snake Roberts, for instance, at 1996's King of the Ring.
what it used to be was that the winner of the King of the Ring would then get the title shot at SummerSlam.
Like a Rumble Mania.
Right, so I'm guessing that means either John Cena or Randy Orton would have had to win the King of the Ring every year from 2002 on.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying it's been a common main event.
Thank you for that email, Matt. Let's move on now to Bill Bailey. Bill Bailey sends this in. Do you think that TNA's recent loss in ratings could be due to the lack of focus in the X division and more towards the women division? Actually, Bill, their knockouts matches on TNA Impact are the highest rated consistently for the last several months on Impact. The X division could potentially be that next bump, but they're certainly not in a failing mode as it pertains to the knockouts focus.
Well, and most of the X Division guys, the ones that the fans want to see, I think, are Joe and AJ.
Mhm.
They're not part of the X Division,
right.
really.
Well, Joe's the X division champion.
Well, right, but I mean, he's really not, but he is.
It's sort of it's dress, it's overdress, the belt that he wears.
Right, it's like putting the light heavyweight belt on Gilbert. It's there, but it really isn't.
What we've seen TNA do over the course of the last few weeks is focus a little less on the main event mafia and a little more on some of the younger talents, which is what a lot of you wanted, a lot of us wanted. They're doing that now, and they may be suffering a little bit in the ratings, but let's not forget they're up against some solid Thursday night programming on both the network TV and the NFL network with football being in play. You heard about Raw's recent ratings, also up against football. So it's when you get to this time of year, you always see a little bit of a rating slide from a product and a program. However, there is a problem, I think, Dave Hero, when your least highest rated segment, which was on a recent Impact with Sting and AJ Styles, is with your champion.
The fans wanted AJ to have the belt. They all screamed for it. It's time for AJ, it's time for AJ. That segment, like we talked about, it was awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just felt uncomfortable and they clicked. Who knows?
Thank you for that email, Bill Bailey. Let's move on now to Quentin Hedges, who says, Damian, Meathead, and Mr. Hero, if you were the guest host for Raw, how would you run the show? Forgetting about the script, what matches would you set up with the current Raw roster? This could be an episode in and of itself.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, for me, even though it's happened once, I really still do believe that a good, solid match would be Big Show versus Randy Orton. Because they really haven't had...
You keep saying that. I can't. It's out there. I just can't.
Well, here's why.
It's not the
Can
island
Randy
in the
Orton,
the
can
oasis
Randy
of the
Orton
desert.
beat the Big Show right now?
Oh.
Big Show is at the top of his game as a tag champion.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy Orton really has never wrestled anyone the size of a Big Show. Triple H has done it. Batista's done it. Shawn Michaels has done it. Randy Orton hasn't climbed that mountain yet.
And I'm sure they've had matches here and there, but you're talking main event, big style,
One-on-one,
marquee match.
sure, yeah. Title match, put him in a cage, whatever you got to do. I don't know if Randy Orton can get the RKO on the Big Show.
Well, John Cena could pick him up and along with
No.
Edge at the same time, I guess.
RKO is a different move. He has to jump way up high to get
Oh,
there.
he can do it. He's a Viper.
Well, when I book Raw, we'll see it.
You know what? I have no idea where I would go. I mean, I can sit here and critique, but to be honest with you, I think Al Sharpton did what I would do.
Dance with the Bella Twins?
Thank you for that email. Lance Tarvin is our next emailer. I was listening to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN Radio, and I heard the interview with BG James. You asked him who will be the future stars of TNA, and one of the names he said was the Motor City Machine Guns. If everyone in the back thought so highly of MCMG, then why don't they push them? They've hardly had any matches on TV, and if they do, they get jobbed. They're doing commentary now, which means they're not wrestling. How are they meant to become future stars if they keep getting benched?
I guess you could say the same thing about Edge and Christian.
Yeah.
They're
They're the ones who explained to the world what a run-in was.
They were the funny ha-ha tag team back then. The 5-second pose, the kazoos with Kurt Angle in the back. No one really took them seriously.
The Machine Guns will get their spot. I think there's a build to it right now with their persecuted type demeanor or type situation that they've put themselves in. And quite frankly, being on TV, doing commentary, being around, it keeps them visible. It keeps people talking about them, much like we are, much like you are, Lance. But I think certainly that they are big stars in the future of TNA. And let's not forget, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin have been around TNA wrestling for a very long time. And the question is, who do you put them up against? I mean, as a tag team, them against Beer Money, I think there'd be a good run there. And how much longer do you keep them a tag team?
Here's the thing, is you eventually have to wait for Team 3D and Booker and Steiner to move aside. Because as long as those two are around, those two teams, the Machine Guns are going to have a rough go of it.
Maybe they can go up against the British Invasion. Deal with some outside interference from Rob Terry.
I could see that.
Thank you very much for that email. If you want your questions answered here on the Pro Wrestling Report, all you need to do is go to pwrshow.com and send us an email using the Contact Us links on the site. Those emails are the ones we get and read first, and we will get to them. May not be right away, but we will get to them right here on this very program. Also, if you haven't done so already, follow the Pro Wrestling Report on Twitter. Damian Nelson, David Hero, Meathead, and Frank Cosentino, the Cos, are all on Twitter individually, and you can follow the show, PWR Show, on Twitter. Each week, Dave, we do give our viewers the opportunity to tweet us who they want to see us go in depth on. They pick the superstar, even if it is Teddy Long. And,
no more Teddy Long.
So follow us on Twitter. Also subscribe to both the video and audio podcasts of the Pro Wrestling Report, which are available for absolutely free, no charge, on iTunes. So, that is today's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Express. For the man they call Meathead, the Cos, and David Hero, this is Damian Nelson saying thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time right here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
On an all-new TNA Impact, what goes up must come down in a frightening 5-way ladder match to decide the X Division #1 contender. Plus, 2 Playboy Playmates get it on. Thursday at 9, only on Spike.